money has a history as long as our lives, with deep roots in the culture in which we find ourselves, deep roots as well into attitudes of our families. So our first spiritual practice in relation to money is going to be to look back and remember some of those family stories, to see with new eyes how and when our values and fears around money were planted. We're going to hear a reading from Matthew's Gospel, but first we have a little scene from the movie, It's a Wonderful Life. The characters in that movie embody pretty much every attitude there could be towards money. It's fun to look at it that way. So we're going to let them speak to us over these next few weeks. But we start at the very beginning of the movie. God is making arrangements to send an angel to assist George Bailey. God says,
"There's a man down on earth that needs our help."
And Clarence the angel responds,
"Is he sick?"
"No, worse. He's discouraged."
Like George Bailey, we sometimes need help in the midst of our discouragement that can come with our fear about money. We need compassion. George Bailey reminds us of how desperate the feelings can be. And we need faith to remind us that our true worth does not lie in the dollars and cents, but in the worth with which God sees us. Sing with me now to prepare our ears to hear Scripture. Jesus in his words. They sent their disciples along with the supporters of Herod to him. "Teacher," they said, "we know that you are genuine and that you teach God's way as it really is. We know that you are not swayed by people's opinions because you don't show favoritism. So tell us what you think. Does the law allow people to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" Knowing their evil motives, Jesus replied, "Why do you test me, you hypocrites? Show me the coin used to pay the tax." And they brought him a denarius. "Whose image and inscription is this?" he asked. "Caesar's," they replied. And he said, "Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God." When they heard this, they were astonished, and they departed. George Bailey is standing on a bridge over the icy waters of a rushing river. He's about to throw himself over the edge. His business is in ruins, but as an enemy reminded him, he does have a life insurance policy. It means that he's worth more dead than alive. The whole movie's about money one way or another, but in that scene it really comes home how crazy it all is. Our security, our happiness, our success, our failure, our very worth as human beings measured in dollars and cents. Even if we know better, even if we can see through the numbers to the real value of things, we get ensnared in the feelings that money provokes. The highs and lows, the fears, the relief, the fretting, the hoarding, the grief. How we navigate all those pressures and feelings and choices is a deeply spiritual matter. It goes right to the heart of our ease or struggle in the world. Like George, we all know what the world thinks we're worth. We know a lot about money, and we pretty much never talk about it. It is really, really powerful. And then there's Jesus. He's our guiding example in all kinds of ways, but never more than in his relationship to money. He is not bothered. He's just not worried about it. Not because he's got his head in the stand. Lots of people try to avoid ever thinking about money. Jesus isn't like that. It's more like he sees it for what it is, with all the ways it can derail us, and all the injustices inherent in it, and all the gifts of it as well. But he says no to the enslavement. So he lives day by day off the abundance of the earth and the kindness of strangers. He tells his followers that the God who cares for the birds and the flowers will look after them too. And in his dealings with people, he always looks past money to what's going on in the hearts of the human beings trying to manage it. Then comes the day that the Pharisees corner him on taxes. This is a lovely, juicy trap. The Jews live under Rome's thumb, and nothing so captures their humiliation as being required to pay taxes to Caesar. They hate it. What do you think? The Pharisees asked Jesus. If he says we should resist, we should rebel, we should not have to pay those taxes, it's time for some civil disobedience, then the Romans will be all over him. But if he says, stop fussing, just pay the taxes, it's an easy life and who cares, then his Jewish followers will abandon him in droves. So for him, it's a no-win situation. His answer is brilliant. He exposes the real question behind the question. Who do we belong to? Caesar or God? Who gets our loyalty? Whom do we serve? Whose project gets our support? Last Thursday, I went to a meeting in the afternoon at Plymouth Church in downtown Seattle. They've got their own parking garage. And if you're a really special person, Plymouth gives you a code. Enter the code into the ticket machine and you can park all afternoon for $3. That is pretty good for Central Seattle. So on Thursday afternoon, I parked my car and dug out my credit card, looked up the number, and headed for the machine. But somehow in pressing the buttons, I missed the stage where I could enter that magic code. And before I knew it, the machine had charged me $19 for my afternoon's parking. I ran, I went to find the attendant, there she was, but there was nothing she could do. She said, not even the manager has any say over that machine. There was no remedy for my mistake. I was desolate. Just shoot me and get it over with. The helplessness, the frustration, the unbearable loss, the shame. The only saving grace, and fortunately this came to me pretty quickly, was that I was getting ready to write a sermon about money. What a splendid sermon. I like to think of myself as a person with a certain amount of spiritual maturity. But clearly, when it comes to money, I've got a long, long way to go. Where does it come from, our relationship with money? I can see two of my grandparents in the way that I reacted in that parking lot. My grandfather on my dad's side was an accountant, and he managed to stay afloat through the Great Depression, just barely, by cutting his customers lots of slack. It meant for a lot of belt tightening for several years, but then when times got a little bit easier, he still had customers. Yeah, there was a lifeblood fire. My dad reflected that upbringing in every way. You could tell from the way that he would always fix something when it got broken instead of just throwing it away and buying a new one. Or the way he was in the garden, they'd grown a lot of their own food. Or really in the intense responsibility that he felt for providing for our family. When his parents died and he inherited their estate as their only child, he taught himself the principles of investment, and he never stopped worrying. He sweated over that, whether he was making the right choices in the stocks and shares that he bought. Every penny was a sacred trust. Every dollar just had like lifeblood contained in it. That would be true for one of my grandmothers too, the grandmother from the other side, only in a completely different way. She was a bargain hunter. The sort of person who cut coupons out of the newspaper and pasted green stamps and blue chip stamps in those little books. Remember those? She read the weekly ads in the paper, and she would go all the way across town if she could save $1 on something that she needed to buy. Often she would buy things she didn't need to buy just because the sale price was so good. And then, of course, the next day she'd have to get back in the car and take it all back. Now, I am her granddaughter. There is no doubt about it. You do not want to know. But how about you? How about you? This sermon needs some more stories. So I wonder if we might just take a moment, if you could think about the family stories, the roots, the attitudes that you've inherited around money, and then pick somebody sitting next to you and tell them about it. I'm going to give you several minutes for this. I'm sure there's some good stories to tell. Anybody got a particularly good one to tell? Anybody got a good story? Probably everybody has a good story. Yeah, Aaron's got a story. Holy Spirit, I can't.
Mike and I had really great conversations about sort of the daily average lessons we were taught, what you absorb from your family. But as soon as you started speaking, there was this one family story that came to mind. So it would be exceptional. And I don't know if I have the exact family lineage right, but it's sort of become a legend in my family where two brothers Uncle Burl and his brother were delivering oil during the Depression in the middle of winter. So two brothers, it was their job to deliver oil in the Puyallup area. It was the Depression, it was winter, and they knew people couldn't pay, but they were going out and one of the brothers, Burrow's brother, went out and delivered the oil to people in spite of the fact that he knew they couldn't pay. That spoke about the value of putting people over money to me. The story went that his brother actually, the truck, the vehicle slipped on the ice and he passed away. He died doing that. And which sent my Uncle Burrow into, he became an alcoholic, and maybe that was the reason, the loss of his brother, or at least it didn't help. But he also is a man who found Alcoholics Anonymous and pulled himself up by his bootstraps and was incredibly passionate about sponsoring other people to help them with their alcoholism. And so this is a man whose deep values and belief in people was delivered to me as a child. That these were our family values. Yeah. So that's, lots of other money conversations, but that one stands out in my memory.
Yeah, thank you. I bet there are other depression stories. Does anybody here not feel that they were affected by the Great Depression? But it just has a shadow in every single one of our lives in one way or another. Anybody else want to share a particular story?
So when I was growing up, there were 5 children in my family. My father had his own business as a refrigeration, air conditioning repairman. My father never bought anything, a car, built our house, or anything without having cash. He never had a credit card, and when he was 70 years old and had retired, and he and my mom wanted to travel, he applied for a credit card, and he couldn't get it because he had no credit history. Somehow or other it did get remedied, but it was a story that has always been kind of the foundation of my life. Is, you need to live within your budget, and the more you can make cash for, the better off you are.
Yeah. How many people can relate to that? Yeah. Anybody else? You can tell me later. Most of us, not all of us, will know that fear of not having enough will have come down to us from some channel or other. Yes, it's part of our lives too. And that is the case even though every one of us knows that by the world's standards or by the standards of other generations, we are wealthy people. Like George Bailey, we let our worth as human beings get defined by the state of our finances. Whoever gets free of that. So today, maybe this is an opportunity just to step back and take a look, just examine it from a different perspective, see the whole fascinating mess. There's lots to talk about in this subject, and all of it is interesting. Now, hear what Jesus says. You are worth so much that God has every hair on your head counted. God knows what you need before you ask. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be too, so be careful where your treasure is. If necessary, sell everything and give the money away to get yourself free. That's extreme, but give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For the measure by which you give will be the measure by which it's given to you. 2 wicks continue to burn in our candle, 2 really different ways of relating to money. Sometime this week, stop and take a good look at the family dynamics that are part of your story. Just have another think, see what comes to you. And then watch in the newspapers too for all the fear around us. Seems like they're trying to wind us up into fear. And just hold the stories, hold them with compassion. To make it an even deeper exercise, imagine Jesus looking with you. Let him tell you what he sees. Have a good look at the alternative he offers. And then let's talk some more. Amen. We come now to our time of prayer together, to be in a wonderful life, to live a wonderful life, is to live in wonder and awe and all the gifts that we receive. So take a moment now, think of the abundance all around you. Think of the abundance of our world and the treasures of our lives, the people and the creation. And let's share our prayer concerns with each other, but maybe starting with some prayers of gratitude. Prayers for anything, whatever is on your heart that you would like for us to share with you in prayer for today. And if at the end of what you share, you would say the words, "This is my prayer," all of us will respond, "This is our prayer."
I have been debating about sharing a prayer request, but as Roberta's asking for gratitude, I thought I would share. Many of you have asked how Caitlin is doing in her beginning months or beginning weeks of school. And so I have a prayer of thanksgiving that things are going smoothly. I'm not getting calls saying, "Don't I get to come home yet?" She still is someone who tends to sit in a room on her own rather than going out and seeking new people to meet. That's still very hard for her, so I would ask for continued prayers that she will push beyond what her own self-imposed boundaries are and continue to integrate into the amazing world of college. But really an overall prayer of thanks for all the support that I know is getting lifted for her. I have to tell you that she told me the other day that having the blanket that this church sent her off with on her bed that very first weekend, she was curled up in it. She said that really helped when she was dealing with homesickness. She really feels that support coming from you, and I am so grateful for that. This is my prayer.
This is our prayer.
Anybody else? A prayer of gratitude or a prayer of concern?
I'll just piggyback on that prayer of thanks. In a Sunday that I was gone, I asked Roberta to ask for your prayers for my cousin Craig, who has been diagnosed with lymphoma, and very unexpectedly. And we have that wonderful Caring Bridge app that will let everybody know how. I can't be there all the time. They're posting updates all the time, and the battle is going. It seems like it's, the treatments are going, and he's eating and gaining weight and not out of the woods, but heading in the right direction. And he has an incredible faith community that he's a part of, and lots of friends and family. And so that's really great too, that he's just rallying to support him. So I want to thank you for the prayers that he's received, and thank you, and thank God for the healing in his life. This is my prayer.
This is our prayer.
Let's continue in prayer together then. Praising God for the awesome wonders of creation, the abundant feast of family and friends, the color around us, all the plentiful riches of your presence with us. We give you thanks. We are really grateful, O God, for the solar panels on our roof and the celebration before us. Thank you for the abundance of energy that flows to us from the sun. Thank you for the possibility you give us of a world running on sunlight, clean and free. Thank you that in our small way we can be part of that vision. Loving God, for those times that feel rife with heartbreak, too much stress and too little assurance, a plethora of pain and not enough possibility, be with us. We lift to you today the people we've named and the others for whom we're praying today. Hold them and keep them, surround them with your love and your grace and your peace and your healing. And for those times when the way we live brings more negativity than positivity, more resentment than forgiveness, more breaking down than lifting up, forgive us. In this silence, we open the books of our hearts and make an accounting. Oh God, already we know that you have balanced the ledgers. You hold nothing against us. You forgive all debts. We are deeply grateful, and we commit to creating more good in the world with your help. Hear us now as we pray together the prayer that Jesus taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now I would like to ask Dale Sewell, who is the chair of our stewardship, to come and speak to us.
So George Bailey is discouraged today at the beginning of It's a Wonderful Life. I'm not discouraged today. In fact, I'm optimistic today about the future of this congregation. And there's a reason why I'm optimistic. This past week, Roberta and I have been visiting some of the elders of our church. I'm defining elders by older than me, which means maybe pushing 80 or maybe pushed 80 a while ago. And who have been in our church for a long, long time. And we've been visiting these elders, and they are an inspiration. And why not? They are the ones who, 51 years ago, in that wretched year of 1968, remember when all the news was bad news? They're the ones who had the courage and the vision and the imagination and the faith to say, God is leading us to put a church here. And they put that shovel in the ground and they built this home for our congregation and they paid for it. And they've been involved in this congregation ever since. So why wouldn't we think they're going to be inspiring when we come to visit them? And last year, when we began our 51st year, and the stewardship committee said we need a solid financial year to get us started into our second half century, the response was so amazing. A 15% jump in the budget in one step. And remember how we all felt so good about that, so we could feel a growing sense of confidence that this church has a future and it's going to be a good one. And our elders were in leadership in that response as well. After that campaign, the stewardship committee did a little evaluation of the strengths and weaknesses of our church financially. And we found a vulnerability. The vulnerability is this. Of the 11 givers to the church who give the most, who are talking about amounts of money, who have the capacity and the priority to be at the top of our giving list in the church, of those 11, 7 are elders of our church. And they know, and we know, that they're not going to be with us forever. And if we lose even 1 or 2 of them in the next few years, it will have an impact on our budget. So we've been visiting our elders. And we asked them first, can you give more in the coming year to the church than you have given last year? 100% said yes. And then we asked them, Do you have the capacity, and could you, if you have the capacity, are you willing to guarantee this year's pledge for 3 years? So that we have a window of time, 3 years, where they are protecting us from the vulnerability. They're saying, whether I'm here with you or whether I've gone on ahead of you, I will give you this gift to support the church. And most of them said yes. And the ones who didn't say yes, I really believe, weren't in the position to say yes to that request. And Roberta and I, we were stunned by this response. It's such an amazing response. But then why are we surprised? I mean, they're the people who started the church and have brought here and they've had that spirit all the time. So they're giving this congregation a gift, a 3-year window where they are protecting us from this vulnerability. And I really believe we have to step up to this. You know, we have to understand that in years to come, they won't be with us, and we have to step into their shoes. And that means that we're going to have to find ways to significantly increase our own giving, so that when they're gone, we are like they were. I'm going to suggest 2 things to think about. One is the concept of tithing, giving away 10% of what God gives you. That's a biblical standard. And so it's not about amounts of money, it's about percentages of money. So what percent are we giving from all that God has given us? The average in the United States is 2%. If you're at the average, can you go up to 4? Is there a way that you can move to 4? If you're at 4, can you go to 7? If you're 7, why not go all the way to 10? There are tithers in this church, many of them the elders, and they will tell you that tithing doesn't hurt you financially and it helps you spiritually. That's my experience and Jim's experience. So think about percentage giving. Can you step up? Can you make a significant step forward? And the other concept to think about is donor base. I've been listening to KOW's pledge drive, raising $1 million in 2 weeks. If their average listener gives $100 or $150, they must have 8,000 or 10,000 donors. We don't have 8,000 or 10,000 donors. We have 56. If we don't do it, nobody's going to do it for us. So, and one of the ways that Jenny and I are trying to step up more, I mean, when we were without a church for 5 years, looking around, we started giving all our money to other groups that we dearly love. Now we want to tithe to the church. And so we're trying to get there. And one way to do it is, there is a group that I love so much, have such a personal connection with. They must have 200,000 donors. If I take $1,000 of what I'm giving them and give it to the church instead, will it hurt their budget much? Not much. Will it help ours? Yes, significantly. So what I'm saying is, it's time for us, as our elders grow more elderly, it's time for us to step up and get ready to take their place. The theme for stewardship this year is imagine. Imagine the future. Imagine the future of this church. Imagine the enrichment of our lives in this church in the years ahead. Imagine the goodness that God can do for us. Imagine what God can do. Imagine it, embrace it, support it. And when we do that, we will be honoring our elders who have been doing this for years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Our offering is an expression of gratitude for that overflowing love and grace and peace